Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed with the formal thanksgiving of our esteemed sponsors and donors, let us take a moment to extend our heartfelt appreciation to Mr. Srijit Bandyopadhyay, 2010 Civil, and Mr. Shumon Khamroi, 2022 Mechanical, for their invaluable contributions. Their efforts have played a significant role in making this event a success. May I now invite Mr. M.N. Shaha, 1974, Instrumentation, and Mr. Amitabh Mukhopadhyay, 1988, Civil, former Executive Director of HPCL, to the stage to initiate the official thanksgiving of our generous sponsors and donors. Please welcome them with a round of applause. Invite our sponsor partners for felicitation as we express our gratitude for their invaluable support. Please join me in welcoming ONGC. From Halliburton, Mr. Arpit Singhal. Mr. Arpit Singhal.
हम हैं वो रोशनी जो बनाए आपका भविष्य और उज्जवल। हम हैं ONGC।
From Halliburton, Mr. Arpit Singhal. Doesn't look like he's here. J&K India Limited, my bad. Represented by Mr. Pankaj Gupta, CFO, Mr. Deepak Sake, Mohsin Sheikh, and Pradeep Deshpande. Mr. Pankaj Gupta from J&K India Limited.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead.
J&K India Limited, headquartered in Thane, Mumbai, is a leading EPC company in refining petrochemicals, chemicals, fertilizers, and energy transition sectors with expertise in fired heaters, cracking furnaces, reformers, flare systems, incinerator packages, and process plants, having successfully executed over 590 plus projects worldwide. Moving on to, from Adani Wellspan Exploration Limited, Mr. Sandeep Gupta, HR Head. Thank you. From JSW Cement, may I please request Lopamudra Sengupta to come forward, please. From Saltec Technologies, may I invite Mr. Devendra Lahoti, Mr. Devendra Lahoti and Mr. Swaraj Lahoti. From Lismont Tangents India Private Limited, Mr. Sham Randeve. Thank you, sir. From SK Oilfield Equipment Company Private, Mr. Manav Kanwar. From Krishna Chemicals, J.K. Pathak. Thank you, sir. From PR Newswire, Alan Noguera. From AXA Equipment, we do not have any representatives, so I'll read the names. AXA Equipment, L&T Realty, Deepak Nitrate Limited, Nav Srijan Yuva Sansthan Barmar, and Cultural Industries Engineering. Thank you, everyone. All right, wonderful people. It's time to hit the refresh button. We invite a 25-minute tea or coffee break. Please come back at 12 noon sharp. Thanks for the break. Now that we are all recharged, let's dive right back. Approximately on time? I guess so. Let us extend a warm welcome to Mr. Amitav Mukhopadhyay, former Executive Director, Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited. An esteemed figure in the industry, his insights and experience have been truly inspiring. Sir, we request you to kindly join us. Once again, I invite Shumon Khamroi to kindly present the memento and flowers to Mr. Mukherjee as a token of our appreciation. Amitav Mukhopadhyay, former Executive Director of HPCL, has over 35 years of expertise in oil and gas infrastructure projects. His experience includes project conceptualization, implementation, and technical auditing, making significant contributions to HPCL's downstream operations. A civil engineer graduate from Jadavpur University with an MBA in oil and gas from UPES Dehradun, he has also completed leadership programs at IIM Ahmedabad and MDI Gurgaon. His strategic vision in project management and corporate governance has left a lasting impact on India's energy sector. Sir, the stage is all yours now.
Thank you, Paramita. Good morning to one and all. And my special regards and thanks to the eminent speakers who started the morning with a keynote address and an eye-opener statements. To carry forward the entire journey of this seminar, the first topic of the three component is chosen as energy, which is the driver. And with me, I'll invite one by one each of the panelists, eminent panelists who are going to be part of this panel discussions. And we had specific formats, and there will be a session slot for audience questionnaires wherein the cheats will be given and you can please send your questionnaires for the eminent panelists to answer. To start with, I call upon Ms. Suparna Singh, Head Corporate Strategy and Special Projects, Larsen & Toubro Limited, an eminent and experienced workhorse in the of Larsen & Toubro. After graduating as an engineer, Suparna was steadfast about applying her understanding to field work and chose to work as a maintenance engineer on the shop floor of a public sector steel plant. Thereafter, during her 33 years careers of work experience, Suparna Singh has worked extensively in the energy, manufacturing and EPC sectors. After her MBA, she led teams in the turnaround of business units, business development of strategy, planning and deployments, instrumentations and performance monitoring, business excellence, governance and risk managements, a wide variety of corporate governments encompassing almost all the fields of the corporates. She has served on the boards of several companies and in the sectors like steel, port, oil and power. Currently, she is head of corporate strategy, special projects, Larsen & Toubro, facilitating the future readiness of a portfolio of business in the energy sector and infrastructure and new business prospects. Suparna has been an active member of industry bodies like C2 and Women in the Energy Sector and is a regular speaker on various forums. With this, I welcome Ms. Suparna Singh on the stage. Next on our energy panel, I invite Ms. Swadeshi Chakraborty, Senior Principal Energy Sector, Boston Consultancy Group. Swadeshi Chakraborty is a Senior Principal in the Energy Practice area at Boston Consultancy Group, India. She has led and supported multiple Indian oil and gas players, public, private, and upstream and downstream on a wide spectrum of topics like operational excellence, large-scale capital project management, business strategy, and cost excellence. She is particularly interested in helping traditional players build new energy business like renewables and green hydrogen in sync with the evolving energy context. She has also previously worked for a few years in the contracts and procurement departments of Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Swadeshi completed her PGDM from IIM Kolkata and her BE in Electrical Engineering from Jadavpur University, earning gold medal in both. With this, I invite Swadeshi on the stage. Our next person in the panel is the eminent person, Mr. Deepak Bharuka, a whole-time director and CEO, J&K India Limited. Deepak Bharuka, a whole-time director and CEO of J&K India, with an impressive educational background, including an EMBA from Project Management from SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, and an ME in Machine Design from Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. Deepak brings exceptional expertise on the table. He honed his leadership skills during his 12 years tenure at Larsen & Toubro Limited, where he served as Assistant General Manager. Now as Chief Executive Officer of J&K, Mr. Deepak's unwavering commitment to excellence, customer-centric approach and dedication to innovation drive our organizational to remarkable success. With this, I invite Mr. Deepak on the stage. So once again, a warm good morning to all the august, brilliant minds sitting here in this auditorium. A good afternoon to each one, all the august minds and brilliant minds sitting here in this room. To start with the today's topic of this panel discussion, energy, of the three quadrants, I would like to share two slides which will encompass the whole panel discussion as it flows, encompassing the energy scenario of global and India, and where we are leading to. As we talk about energy in this panel, to set the context for the whole energy scenario, to my mind, I have divided the whole energy scenario into 4 quadrants. The first one is electricity transitions, that is fossil to renewables. The second one is mobility transitions, wherein fossil to EV, green hydrogen and low carbon. Third is refining, where crude to chemicals and petrochemicals. And fourth is economy, which is trending from linear to circular. Next. Now, this is one slide I thought it is very imperative to bring the whole energy scenario explained for India. Now, today, if you see the cumulative carbon emissions per capita, we are at the lowest. Of course, this is little old scenario. I could not collect the latest one, but still, India is at the bottom line of the per capita energy carbon CO2 emissions. Now, with the present scenario where India is aiming for a major scale up in its economy from present 3.2 billion to something around 10 billion, if not even around 7 billion. Now, this whole economic growth is going to be catered by a major surge in energy demand. Now, there are 2 scenarios basically which we are driving the energy sector today. One is how to meet the huge energy gap which is going to be created once our economy grows. It is not that fossil fuel or existing sources of energy is going to fill the whole gap. So there needs to be an alternate energy which will be able to quickly bridge the gap and provide the requisite cushion for the multidimensional expansions in area sectors, be it electricity consumption, be it mobility, or be it economy. Second compulsion which is driving the energy sector is basically the issues of climate change. The last of the series of global level summit that has happened, that is COP26, wherein India has committed, Honorable Prime Minister has committed that 2070 should be the India's net zero. And there is the in-between benchmark of 2030 where there is an intermittent benchmark. We have to achieve certain amount of energy generations in various fronts, including renewables, hydrogen, to substitute the whole energy demand. Now, with this 3 scenario in place, the eminent panelist will take up the one segments and explain the current scenario, its pros and cons, where we are actually having the issues and how and what way we should try to mitigate these things. So with this background, I first invite Deepak, who is right from the industry and right in the forefront of the energy transitions by executing various projects, to throw some lights on renewables part of the energy scenario.
Hello. Okay. Thank you, Amita, for setting the context of the discussion. And thank you all audience and other dignitaries sitting here. I'll be covering the renewable part of the discussion as one of the panel member from the industry. If you see, India is one of the fastest growing region in the Asia Pacific and mainly driven by the energy demands. And if you see in the oil and gas, downstream companies are diversifying their portfolios by investing in renewable energy sector, digitization and modernization, mainly to reduce the cost and reduce the process losses in the operation. And principles of circular economy is gaining the prominence. If you see, most of the downstream companies are diversifying towards value-added products like a petrochemical and chemical manufacturing. while utilizing at least some part of the renewable energy sources or taking the inputs from the renewable energies, inputs of a renewable energy like a green hydrogen. But I think it's very difficult to proceed the dialogue without on this renewable energy without seeing the global scenario, what is happening globally. So I have some slides where I'll be presenting the global scenario, how on the renewable world is moving. Yeah. Oh, it's there already. Thank you. So if you see globally, there is almost 996 gigawatt addition of global on a renewables side in 2023. Of course, this data is available in the public domain also. But my idea is to derive from here how India is faring. If you see, like 59% of this addition is only by China. And hardly 4% of the renewable energy is added by India. Though if you see, like most of the renewable energy is getting added in the form of the solar PVs. That is the chunk of the part is coming. And mostly in India also, when I go to the India slide, you will find we are also having almost now 21% of the renewable coming from the solar. This is the overall energy basket which I have presented. If you see, still coal is the king. And close to 50% of our energy is coming from the our conventional fossil energy sources. Our target is to add, as a government of India, our target is to add around 500 gigawatt of non-fossil-based electricity generation by 2030, and which will have, which will require additional budget of close to $9 billion. And ultimate target is to become net zero emission by 2070. Of course, this itself looks far-fetched, but this is what we are targeting as of now in the... So, when it comes to the challenges in this sector, okay, this is where, we are facing a lot of issues and problems. One is the speed up. How do we speed up the implementation? If you see, many of the projects are stuck in the regulatory norms, sometimes land acquisition, sometimes government clearance from various agencies. And second challenge as an industry, what we are facing is bring advancement in the grid technologies. See, our grid is still not up to the, in the first presentation, it is already covered that we need to really advance or upgrade our grids so that we can have better renewable connectivity and seamless flow of renewable and conventional energy. Third is improve energy storage and carbon capture utilization and storage. If you see, very little is being done in India so far on the carbon capture or even improvement of energy storage. Yes, slowly things are moving. We find some public sector tenders are coming, but we see little is getting materialized. So we ourselves are bidding for some of the projects for NTPC on the carbon capture and these things. Then reduce the cost of green hydrogen. Now, green hydrogen is something which is buzzword, rather it was buzzword even 3-4 years back. We are also bidding for a lot of projects in the green hydrogen. In fact, we are partnering with L&T for some of the projects in India where we are bidding together. But very little is getting materialized, and main reason is the cost. If you see, the cost of green hydrogen is almost 4 to 5 times the conventional like SMR-based hydrogen, or the way even government has a directive they have given to the PSUs that their 10% of the hydrogen utility should be coming from the green hydrogen. Earlier target was 2027, I believe. Somebody can correct me. And now I believe they are targeting 2030, but looking at the pace at which it is going, even it is far-fetched dream for all of us. So, and main reason is the cost. I mean, how when your margins are depleting, your profits are going down, you invest somewhere in the green hydrogen and increase your costs, and that is where I believe our technology should take over and help us to reduce the cost. Then, developing the enabling infrastructure, if you talk about the storage or battery infrastructure, of course, lot is being improved. If you talk about the mobility sector, electrical vehicles are increasing, your charging points are increasing day by day, but still, a lot needs to be done so that we have a better infrastructure available. And last but not the least is regulatory hurdles. So, when it comes to this renewable, there are not fixed standards. There are not, we ourselves got stuck in one of our ISCL projects where we have not got approval from the regulatory body. Our project is completed 2 years back and we are not able to commission because we don't have approvals from regulatory bodies. And we do not know what to be done. And even many of the regulatory bodies do not know, particularly when it comes to hydrogen and the pressure of 500 or 700 kg, everybody is scared. And this is where, as a, policy maker or government, they need to come out with the plan and roadmap so that we have a clear-cut policies available for industry and we can overcome this challenge. So I hand it over to Amitava to take it forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Deepak, for enlightening on the renewable and alternate energy sources. As we move around with the energy sector, one of the very important quadrant which is going to play a very pivotal role in the whole energy transition scenario is, and also which will mitigate a major CO2 emissions norms, is the consumer and industrial segments. So I invite Suparna, who is intensely working in this segment, to throw lights on what are the developments, pros and cons, and issues that we are facing in the CNI segments.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here. Can we have the presentation, please? So I'll just quickly start with the first slide, which sort of sums up what Amitava was saying about the COP26 declarations of India, which is the Panchamrit. Is the slide on? So the first one of the Panchamrit is the 500 gigawatt achievement by 2030, where we are, I would say, around with 200 gigawatt currently in the solar and wind. We are close to 50%, which is 430 out of 500 gigawatt has to be in the solar and wind, and the rest of it would be nuclear and storage and others. I'm waiting for the slides. Is anyone putting it up? I wish the rest of the room was not suddenly in the dark. Yeah, that's lovely to see you all. Now there's some energy in the room. Yeah, can we have the slides? I haven't brought the printout. Because there were some slides which spoke about what we did in the CNI sector. Just to get through it, can I give it to Shomusri? Do you have her slides, please? Sorry about this. Otherwise, you can just have a question-answer session.
So in the meantime, when the slides are coming in front, I would request Somastri, who is actually working. It has come? the whole energy scenario, where we are today, what is the focus and how we are transitioning to various quadrant of the energy sector. And being from the consultancy background, she will have the enormous data bank to throw a proper light on the energy transition journey.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present here today. Unlike what consultants do, I have only 2 slides today, not a 200-slide pack, but I would want to keep it a free-flowing discussion. My esteemed panelist has already talked a lot about renewables, but I wanted to start off by talking about oil and gas. It is the unpopular topic, but unfortunately or fortunately, oil and gas is here to stay. It is and will continue to be the biggest sources of energy, and India demand of oil and gas is expected to only rise, not just till 2030, but for a few more decades maybe. The problem with that is that India is already reliant on imports from over 88–90% of its consumption. So with the rising increase in consumption of oil and gas, our reliance on imports will only increase, and hence the need of the hour is to actually increase domestic production through better collaborations with foreign players. ONGC has already done something with BP, which is a great step in this regard, as well as improving ease of doing business through single window clearances, streamlined land acquisition processes, all of that. But one thing more, I think India Inc. should really think about going outside and building international portfolio of oil and gas assets. Similar to what China has done and built a global portfolio of critical mineral assets, time for India to also think about turbocharging its international aspirations. If I talk about gas, we have long heard that gas is the transition fuel, but the reality is the share of gas in energy mix has remained more or less stagnant at 6–7% for some time now. So in order to achieve the target of 15% of the energy mix, which the government of India keeps saying, CNG and PNG both have to step up their game. We have been adding some 1,000 CNG stations every year, but the need is to do double. Similarly, PNG, we need something like an Ujjwala scheme actually to step up from the 1.4 crore PNG customers we have today to 33 crore levels like LPG. If we can just move to the next slide. Sorry. Now coming to the green energy, we have already heard about RE, but green energy is much beyond RE. Across the spectrum of green technologies, there is a lot of expectation of growth and massive capital investments planned, whether it is green hydrogen, whether it is solar PV modules, or the biofuels electric vehicles. So just wanted to spend some time on that while we will hear more about RE from Suparna ma'am. Now, as the share of RE, as the capacity of RE grows and the share of RE in the energy mix continues to grow, the need will also exponentially rise for storage, because RE is ultimately an intermittent technology or solution. So the CEA actually estimates that 70 to 75 gigawatt of storage capacity will be required by 2030-32, and 60% of that is to come from battery. Now, if battery has to come up such big way, then what we need is not just the drop in the battery prices, but also the VGF from the government, because it is only with VGF that battery plus RE will achieve us cost parity with coal tariffs. Otherwise, coal will continue to be king. The next thing, while building on RE, green hydrogen is emerging, but cost parity in hydrogen will continue to be a challenge. And hence, capturing the export market that India aims to do through the National Green Hydrogen Mission will not fructify probably. One of the interesting things here is also about e-methanol. E-methanol demand is expected to rise, growing up to be almost a 150 billion industry, driven primarily by shipping demand and chemicals demand. But in India, we still don't have one single order of dual fuel ships, whereas globally there are more than 200 ships that have been ordered by the likes of Maersk, etc. So something again for the Indian industry to ponder over. Now all of this RE we can do, but our solar PV modules are mostly imported mainly from China. So we will again land up in a situation of over-reliance on imports, just like we have for crude oil. Hence the need to develop a thriving domestic manufacturing capability of solar PV modules. While the government has announced PLIs, we have heard the Reliance and Adanis of the world making very ambitious plans and targets. The reality remains different, We still don't have many battery manufacturing facilities in the country, and hence the role of industry-academia collaborations to make this real becomes very important. And last but not the least, if I can talk about a little biofuels. The three main fuels, or not just biofuels, if I talk about mobility, by 2030, the three green fuels which will primarily be of importance are biofuels, electric vehicles, and LNG for heavy-duty transport. Electric vehicles will continue their march that they are doing already, with e-two-wheelers and three-wheelers leading the way. The government has set a target of 30% penetration for all vehicle categories. We think three-wheelers and four-wheelers will achieve that and even may go beyond, but four-wheelers may likely fall behind. This will primarily be driven by the increasing affordability with drop in battery prices, but also through the ESG commitments of the government and different corporates. In terms of biofuels, we already have the 10% and now the 20% bioethanol blending demand, which has made this a 10 billion euro industry. But this has far more potential if we consider the best-in-class blending targets like Brazil of 27%, or the export potential which India has. And India also already has the feedstock. The real challenge is the supply chain to get that feedstock to the manufacturing capabilities. But it is an interesting opportunity that we should all consider. Looking forward to an engaging discussion. I will hand it back to Suparna ma'am to...
Slide changer, if I can have that as well. Thank you. Slide changes there. Yes, slide changes there. No, no, I sent something today morning. Okay. Okay, the slides, I think the one I sent today morning is not here, but I know this is I'll somehow summarize what I was going to say. Heliocentrism is a word that I recently came by, and it was like objects maybe further away than they appear. The renewable energy transition exists as of now in the eye of the beholder. Some see an accelerating transition, while others retreat from prior optimistic transition forecasts. We will perhaps talk about where we are in this amongst these two extremes as we go forward. The pillars of okay, I think the slides have changed, but anyway, I'll just take there'll be just a juxtaposition. C&I segment of the electricity consumption is around 50%. Commercial occupies around 10%, and industrial around 40% of the total consumption of electricity in India. However, the renewable energy consumption is only about 6 to 7% by this entire 50% of India's base. Transitioning this sector to cleaner energy sources is critical for India's overall energy transition and decarbonization goals. So if you see to the right, we have the industrial, then followed by domestic, and then you have agriculture and the rest. So the decarbonization levers are primarily, if you see at the top, what we do essentially to go towards this path is, one is that energy efficiency, where we are trying to make our equipments, our processes more energy efficient, and the other one is direct electrification, where the technology is changing. But the thing that we need to do right now, in which we are as part of the industry focusing on in a big way, is how do we transition from the thermal energy to the renewable energy. Below the line, if you see, as Shomosri also spoke about, that we are having the hydrogen, we are having biomass and CCUs, battery storage, but the maturity of these technologies or of these processes are improving, but till that time the focus is on the renewable energy. And why it is so is because it's the most attractive decarbonization option, high carbon abatement potential. In C&I segment, the renewable power procurement is primarily through the two routes. One is the open access and the rooftop. I'll not go into the details. We are not talking also about the green tariff, which is, and also the green energy, the options that we have, the exchange options that we have, which are cost plus options, and therefore may not be attractive to a large number of our C&I segment. Let us understand that a large part of this industrial segment consists of SMEs and MSMEs. And the cost addition or the cost burden for them to go into the renewable is not a motivating factor for them to go ahead. And we need to therefore enable them through interesting financial options, of course, through the the lower energy costs, which we are seeing happening with the PPAs that's currently going on. The regulatory and policy barriers, I will be tempted to show you one slide on that to see how different the norms and the policies are from state to state, because as you all know, that power is a concurrent subject, that it has to be, while center gives advice as a central guidelines can be there, but it's a state which will have to adopt it. So there has to be a very close discussion and enablement of the policies and agreement of the policies on both sides for it to go forward. Grid integration reliability is a challenge because of the intermittency of the renewable sources and lack of, as of now, the reliable energy storage solutions, which affects the stability of the power supply for C&I customers. Land and space constraint, I think it is something which we all know that how humongous, it's the elephant in the room, so to say, because every 1 megawatt of solar requires around 3 acres of land. And also in some states which is more, I would say, solar, energy concentrated or wind energy concentrated, the land requirement in those areas are much more, the cost increases, and the whole gamut of cascading effects which actually add to the cost, apart from, of course, the delay in terms of right of way. Access to financing, we need to have more, because today, large part of it is on the credit worthiness, therefore large corporates can actually afford to go into that renewable energy route. And high tariffs and cross subsidies, because it's the industrial sector which absorbs the subsidies that is given to agriculture and domestic. So the burden of the tariff on them is high, and that is also included in the renewable energy, in the cross subsidies and the additional surcharges that we get too. I'm just putting this up, not going through, because if you see the regulatory discrepancies that we have, Tamil Nadu and Uttar Pradesh discourage the high-paying CN customers from shifting, because you see, the other interesting part is that the DISCOMs have to pay a part of the tariff because they are already into PPA with the coal-producing power entities. And for them to get into the low energy PPA route, where it is also uncertain whether the cost will further come down, and yet they have to enter into a 25-year PPA, it does not incentivize them to go through that route. And all sorts of policy discrepancies and norms are coming up. And for a company like L&T, where we have entities across whole of India, manufacturing as well as projects, of course, we really grapple with, there's no central norm that we can abide by. States like Gujarat allow on-site rooftop under net metering and CAPEX model only, not on OPEX model. Maharashtra, 1 megawatt is the earlier norm for having the solar rooftop capacity, but it has been increased to 5 megawatt by Maharashtra, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to this slide, but you can see the continual consistent change that is happening. Actually, inconsistent is the word. That's change that's happening, which is impacting the RE solar power offtake, hybrid as well. Very briefly, and this is a unique thing to a project and a construction entity, where there's a lot of, also in terms of, I would say, rather than carbon emissions also, and apart from noise emissions, a lot of issues are there for project sites. But as of now, there is no norm, no policy guidelines which say that you can have construction power, because it is temporary. And any PPAs is governed minimum by 10 to 15 years. So what do we do? So we have as a part of our process where I was leading a task force at the group level, we approached several state governments, and one, Tamil Nadu, we have done a pilot for the first time in India by any company. And we are hoping, and I'm a part of the CI National Committee of Power, wherein we are also propagating the green construction power as one of the key areas which is being discussed upon. And some of the few of the recommendations that we have, and as I said, in all of this, the discussions that we have around the table with the government, with the CEA as part of the Power National Committee, is we are talking about how policy decisions to be discussed. This is the last slide. The Single Window Power Committee, where the state governments and the central governments sit together to agree, disagree, and brainstorm the issues and come to a conclusion where they will abide, which they will have to take forward. Offer policy consistency, transparency, and visibility. So the very high-level recommendations, I've not gone into the details. And construction, green power. Also, we have recently, in the last discussions, we are also proposing to the government, nodal officers, where the entire land acquisition, the rates will be consistent across any particular state, where the entire right of way will also be given by the district collectorate, and many such issues where we are talking about streamlining transmission timelines, because today a solar power plant can come up in 12 to 18 months, but a transmission line has to take up 2 to 3 years to even come up. So the entire planning has to be more streamlined. I pause here and give it off to Amitabh to take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Suparna. So now I had received something around 7-8 questions. So I think before we get into our discussions, let us first address these questions. The first questions is from Sri Ashok Odhikari. Nuclear energy takes least amount of extraction material from Mother Earth when entire value chain is mapped. What could be India's future in nuclear energy by 2030? What could be nuclear energy proportion in Indian energy by 2030? So, Somosri, if you have some clue, or I have a slide. Can you open my presentation? Srijit? Basically representing world energy scenario and Indian energy scenario, where nuclear energy also is mapped in the total requirements. And if you see that both in world scenario as well as in Indian scenario, the proportion of nuclear energy utilizations in the whole energy baskets has not significantly changed. So probably to my mind, one is that the regulatory mechanism, risk associated with this nuclear energy implementations, and probably the resource control and technology control is one of the area where why nuclear energy is not very strongly propagated in the energy transition as on today. But there is a extensive, to my knowledge, there is extensive research is going on. Even in India, Railway RDSO is trying for a small nuclear powered drive, which will able to drive the long distance trains. So once this R&D succeed, probably nuclear energy will see a road. But definitely in the whole energy scenario, as we scale up particularly the electric consumption pattern, nuclear energy is bound to play major roles, and Government of India is already looking for various tie-ups to bring latest technology so that the nuclear energy generation, particularly in the electricity consumption area, can be reinforced with the conventional energy and the renewable energy.
Just to add on, I think the scale of energy generation consumption that we are talking about, it's quite unlikely that nuclear energy, even if it goes. I think now it would be better, yeah. I think the scale of energy generation consumption that we are talking about, at that scale, nuclear energy, even if it grows, it's unlikely that it will play a significant role because of the overall scale effect itself. In the countries where nuclear is more developed, like France, etc., also the scale is much smaller than in comparison to what India needs per se. Also, just to highlight the overall risks associated with a large-scale nuclear technology-based power generation. We have all seen the wakes of Chernobyl, etc. So, I have not come across in any source where nuclear energy will be a major factor in India's energy story per se.
Yeah, just quickly on this point, currently we are at 8 gigawatt and the plan is to go to 13 gigawatt by around 2030. Government has come out with some policies on the small, the small reactors, small nuclear SMRs, as we say. And many companies, including ours, we are looking at how to work on that. And that is, I believe, going to bridge the gap between where we are and even to the delta that we need to go. But yes, it is picking up momentum and very valid question.
We move on to the next question from Sri Tanmay Chatterjee, Reliance. There is no option to choose energy on environment in view of decarbonization. Challenge is how smartly we move together, how to fast track transitions from traditional energy to RE. So, Deepak. What's the question? Question is how fast track transition from traditional energy to renewable energy.
I mean, first is a statement which probably is trying to make. There is no option of which kind of energy you have to opt for. But there is always a caution. Maybe developed countries can talk all these things because they already have their per capita consumption, if you see, I think there was in one of the slides they have mentioned. If you talk about China, their per capita energy consumption is almost 5 to 6 times India's. And if you talk about United States, it's almost 10 times. And all this energy they are generating mostly by the fossil fuel and very few very less compared to their energy basket by the renewable. Renewable, of course, if you talk from the climate point of view, we don't have option to go for renewable, but question is how much we can afford. We are going a lot on the solar we have added, but Suparna ma'am has presented us the problems we are facing with the solar, particularly with this net metering and all that, because this government is also facing problem how much renewable energy they can put in the grid, particularly when the demand is low. So we need to add on other facilities like storage and other things. So in my opinion, India has still, we need a time and maybe another 5-6 years to really go in the renewable sort. Still we have, you go in the villages, still we have power cut because energy is not, still sufficient energy is not getting generated compared to the rise in the demand we are having, particularly because of the growth we have. So if you see 6.5% is, we are going to grow annually as per for the next decade, and that is not the proportion in which we are growing on the energy side. I think Suparna ma'am can add on this.
We'll go to the next question.
Yeah.
I think we move on to the next question from Sri Subrata Guha, Technip Engineers. How are ongoing tariff dynamics expected and impact Indians' the journey? What strategies India can adopt to mitigate supply chain related issues? That is first question. Second question is, what roles can national FIs or regulatory authorities can play in mitigating the risk of RE industries and grab opportunities, includes financing related challenges. So, the first question, how are ongoing tariff dynamics expected? Now, as I perceive from the ground level, once we are going for implementation of solar and wind, which is predominantly as on today in India, The per unit cost of productions, whatever is coming, it is definitely coming cheaper. But the question lies somewhere different. That it is sort of manufacturing, and where the entire cost is driven by the cost of capex. Now, you acquire land for installing solar, you acquire land for installing wind. Apart from the technological part and the equipment cost, the acquisition, delay associated with the acquisition, as Suparna has also pointed out in multiple times, these are the factors which are actually impacting the cost. Now, one of the areas where the cost is likely to streamline is probably mitigating the challenges at the ground level of right from capex stage to implementation stage, including the net metering issues, which all over India, it is not driven by a single tariff. Similar way that if you talk about gas mechanism, now gas is going to play a predominant role in the whole energy basket of India. Now, what we are seeing that induction of CBG and CNG, the total cost of capex which is going for CBG and the per unit gas cost, whatever is coming out, supply chain is going to add a major cost, because the supply chain is, as on today, is a third-party induction mechanism, and that is where the substantial cost is getting incurred. The reason is that entire supply chain of all these areas needs to be redeveloped. The existing, any of the supply chain mechanism, be it road, rail or pipeline, is not going to cater to this transportation of these parts. Going to the second question, what roles?
Can I just add on the first question? I think India already has one of the lowest tariffs of RE globally. But if you see the RE tariff, actually 60-70% cost of a solar project, if I take solar first, is the module cost. Every cent of module cost is actually 1 to 2% of the IRR of the project. And all the module is imported from China. So at one point when the solar module prices were going down, we came to a tariff of 1.99 rupees. It was a very famous part when SECI auctions used to get all 1.99. Then people burned their fingers because tariff prices, solar module prices increased. And we have seen a reversal also in the SECI tariffs that have been discovered. And now when we are moving to ALMM list, when we want domestic manufacturers to supply solar PV module prices, the tariffs are actually expected to increase a little bit more, because domestic module prices are not as competitive as the Chinese prices. So if we can come back, that having domestic manufacturing capability, which is cost competitive, which is good technology included, will play a great role in securing the supply chain for solar and hence control the tariffs as well. And if I take wind, in case of wind, land acquisition makes absolute sense. There are very, very limited good potential wind sites in India, and hence the land prices are actually skyrocketed as a result, which is reflected in the wind tariffs and the challenges the different EPC developers in the country today face. So just wanted to add that before we move to the next question.
The next question, what roles can national FIs or regulatory authorities can play in mitigating the risk of RE industries and grab opportunities includes finances related challenges?
I think if I come to RE, India already has two very well established RE funding agencies. We have IREDA, which I think is globally, if I'm not mistaken, globally the only dedicated funding agency for RE. We also have PFC, which funds conventional but has a very big unconventional funding portfolio as well. So I have not actually encountered a lot of challenges with traditional RE. What India probably lacks today is an energy fund. Many countries actually have sovereign energy funds to fund non-conventional or newer emerging areas of energy, like battery storage, like CCUS, like e-methanol, like green hydrogen, etc. In India, while government has given a lot of mandates to the PSUs, there is no one sovereign energy fund. And using the SAED taxes that the government has collected from the windfall of the upstream oil and gas companies, my personal opinion would be that the government of India should consider setting up this energy fund to actually promote the other new upcoming areas of green energy, while RE I have personally found is more or less sorted. But happy
Yeah, just to add to that, you see the PLIs have helped to some extent to push or nudge the businesses to think about setting up units. And plus there's a green bonds that are also actually gaining momentum. And that actually should also help in furthering the, the green, and we have, you see, to also on the part of how government as a part of policy is working on propagating RE forward is that, you see, even the green tariff, I am told that the green tariffs are also reducing, where you can buy green certificates. That is also reducing and coming down further, even though it is varying from state to state. So there are various, I mean, we had a discussion with the chairman of the CEA and Central Authority. There are a plethora, they are aware of all the problems and they are discussing which are the ways. The main problem is that all the states are not uniformly aligned. So while one or two states are really progressing forward, the rest of the states are taking a backward, even a stance, not pushing. And maybe we need to address each state individually, and that one power committee would be very, very useful, how to help each other. And the just transition, I wanted to add, is very important, because while we are accelerating our pace, how it can be just to all the stakeholders involved, and government is actually cognizant of the fact, so therefore it is maybe slowing down the pace, but I'm sure we will be there.
To add what Somashri and Supana has added, now it is a very valid points which has been come up in this discussion. It is the funding requirements. Now it is estimated that it will require around $10 trillion for India to achieve 2070 net zero. And in the COP26 agreement, Indian government has already put forward a demand of $1 trillion foreign institutional funding, which should come as a part of technology transfers or in the form of aid for financing. Now, definitely today the basic constraints with the RE companies which are being formed, and in fact most of the large companies, they have segregated the portfolio and opened a new company with the perspective that this new company should be able to stand up its own and it is to get individual fund without linking it to the parent company. Now, definitely this fundraising for the new company or for the RE sector, it is totally depends on the viability, and all the banks and financial institutions. As on today, there is no mechanism of a green fund where they are extended fund at a lower interest rates. So that is one part of this story which need to be tackled. And as a part of Government of India, they are coming up with so many schemes. Like recently, there is around 20,000 crore outlay that has been decided to keep it for national grid hydrogen missions, which is going to be distributed in the form of manufacturers of electrolyzers and suppliers of green hydrogen. So there are various type of initiatives both government as well as the companies are taking. But definitely this money has to come from the existing business, and all the large company, whatever they are earning out of existing business, their capability to share funds and divert funds for the RE will tell the ultimate success for these renewables.
Amita, I'll just add a point here, particularly for the green hydrogen. It is not, I mean, of course, funding is something which is lacking, but even if we have funding, we are also lacking in the technology. This technology also need to develop along with the funding, because we finally have, any sector will not survive only on the subsidy or funding. Technology need to develop where it can compete with the conventional sources and it can make it economically viable. So today, I mean, biggest problem is when you compare with your conventional sources on the hydrogen particularly, it is, I mean, there is a multifold difference between the cost of green hydrogen and the conventional hydrogen. So unless this technology takes over, funding alone may not solve the problem to the large extent.
Due to paucity of time, I'll just club whatever the similar questions. Next question from Rajiv Roy, ONGC. Green hydrogen is struggling with productions cost. Grey hydrogen has issue of carbon footprint. White hydrogen is still undergoing under explorations. How do you see all turquoise hydrogen can come into the pictures?
So anything more, any other questions on hydrogen?
So anyway, I'll just add to it. See now, yes, those points made are completely valid. Green hydrogen is of course struggling with the cost, and grey hydrogen has its footprint. So now in the many part, particularly in the Middle East and all that, they are going for the blue hydrogen. So they are basically capturing the hydrogen, but of course it comes with a cost. You need to store that carbon somewhere, and it also has a significant cost, and technology also is in the developing stage. We don't have, so we see some initiative by NTPC in the carbon capture technology where they have floated some tender, but it is going on since last 1.5 to 2 years, and it is not yet materialized. So definitely observations made by the questionnaire is valid. We have a cost which is a problem with the green, and emission a problem with the grey. But if you see worldwide, you will find 90% plus hydrogen is a grey all over the industry. And they do not have the commercially viable solution as of now.
Yeah, to add to that, it's very interestingly, in US, blue is green. So blue hydrogen is considered as green. In India, we are trying to go for the fastest application of hydrogen, which is the refining as well as the green ammonia. So in that category, India has progressed, and even in L&T, we are actually started producing, generating hydrogen, and we are actually mixing it with other fuels for running our turbines. So there is a creeping improvement in this, and as Deepak said, also the technology and the cost will, and the policies will further that.
The next question is from Sri N.S.K. Ghosh, NPCIL. These questions we have already dealt. Do you consider nuclear power is possible options? So this we have already dealt, so I'll skip this one. Next question is from Mr. Tendulkar. Unless the cost of energy comes down, affordable to the common man, energy per se will not be sustainable. What are the other measures to be deployed to reduce the cost of energy to the ultimate customer? Entire world is talking about AI/ML, which consumes 18% more energy and power. So this also we have dealt as per the costing. Paucity of time. Next question is from Bruce of Dharmik. Has India a future in leading fusion energy projects? Does our energy sector has a plan to tackle the problem of lack of infrastructure, creating lack of domestic demands, creating lack of investment? Largely covered, but any specific thing, Deepak, you want to add? What I want to add?
Can we go to other questions in terms of time and then take this up also?
Next question is from Arindam Bose. What is the action plan on HVDC transmission in India? As globally we are lagging on this aspect, any thought? And he had a question to respected Pro Vice Chancellor, sir. Competent core subject engineers count are slowly reducing. What can JU do differently to continue the legacy of producing excellent core engineers who will contribute to energy industry? And third question, is there any out-of-box idea to reduce capex of clean energy? What is why it is forwarded? Otherwise, zero carbon footprint will be only a dream. The third questions I'll answer that capex is something which is a situational. It cannot be a perpetual, it cannot be a constant out-of-box thinking. It has to be in situ out-of-box thinking, and definitely all the projects in India get implemented despite so many constraints because of somebody or the other at the ground level or at the apex level at doing out-of-box thinking. The question number 2 to Honorable Pro VC, I'll leave it. for him to address it at the end of the session. And on HBDB transmissions,
I think it's a very, very focused topic, but what I understand is that HVDC transmissions, the cost increases much more, and there's a special, discussion that the government is having with the DISCOMs and others on how to, first of all, improve our infrastructure, transmission capacity from the HVDC point of view, and also to see how the cost can therefore, be worked upon. But this is being looked into by the government, is what I can say.
next question is from Sri D.P. Misra, our Honorable Past President. What is the program of India for carbon capture and storage? When is first plant coming?
You say
Somebody
carbon
from-
capture, so yeah, Deepa.
No, I mean, somebody policymaker has to answer
okay.
this.
No, but carbon capture is being taken up by industries per se. For example, steel industry themselves, and most of them are private entities, they are introducing carbon capture. They've started introducing carbon capture because it gives, you see, even CBMC, if you see the Europe, the steel you cannot sell to Europe unless it is green certified. So there is a pull and a push to ensure that you are green, right? And you cannot, and while steel industry is also trying to go into producing green steel, which is a little long away, they are trying to use the CCUS mechanisms to see how it can be, how they can therefore get the certificate. The work is on. There are technologies which is coming up, which is getting matured, and it is coming up, but creeping is what I can say.
I think globally also CCUS there is no one proven model already of CCUS. It is an emerging, evolving technology where people are working even now. So India is no exception. India also has a few pilot projects around CCUS, but the answer to CCUS will take a few years more to emerge, I guess.
Can I add something? No flow question, sir. No flow question. I just want to give her the answer. The CCUS is already in place in places like Canada and other places. Our plants are operating. My question was, when India is going to have the first CCUS? Probably this is the last question.
Yeah.
because you have to
As I already mentioned in my one of the point, NTPC has already floated a tender on this line, and we are working, but then tender is not yet materialized. So when they will award, somebody from policymaker can say that, because there is no, I don't think there is any guideline from the government to these companies. They have to like green hydrogen or something. It is just an initiative by this company. When they will award, nobody knows the answer, at least from panelists.
The probably last questions of this for the panel. What is the latest status of biofuel production, particularly mixing of ethanol with petrol? Is there a scope of putting up ethanol plants? If yes, which states? I think I'll gutter to this.
I think bioethanol, I don't know what's the intent for asking what is the status. Bioethanol, we have done 10%, we are on track to achieve 20%. There are a lot of projects which have got awarded under the DIF. There was a food ministry scheme where a lot of projects have got awarded. If we take a state by state view, the states which there are two methods of ethanol production. Traditional 1G, which is sugarcane or the maize or the food crops. The sugarcane plants and hence the distilleries have traditionally been concentrated around Maharashtra, Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh, with almost all sugar countries now have bioethanol production facilities as well. The grain technology is also picking up, but it is not as easy in India considering the food versus fuel debate that is there. And around sugarcane also we have seen policy flip-flops that are happened over the time. So is there anything else in particular that we want to talk about? Whoever had asked the question.
to add to what Swadeshi has stated, presently the country is blending around 15.46% ethanol in MS. And under the Government of India mandated policy of T20, by next year, we should be able to mix 20% ethanol in petrol. That is one of the target. Now, as far as ethanol is concerned, it is actually divided into three categories, 1G, 2G and others. One is from this outcome of sugarcane, what Swadeshi was talking. Now, because the sugarcane availability belts and there are certain issues because it has to be also diverted for the other industries. So, Government of India has some point of time propagated uses of 2G ethanol, which is from various feedstocks. And certain OMCs were advised to set up a plant, which are very expensive plant. Technology-wise, it was not proven worldwide, but the experiment is still going on. And the only problem is that the cost of ethanol which was coming, it was far above the benchmark price at which other ethanols are coming. Now, Government of India has made a lot of policies where private peoples are allowed to set up ethanol plants. And naturally, there is no state-specific preference, but a ethanol plant setup, if somebody is going to invest, his lookout should be closer to feedstock because the logistic cost and preservation cost of the ethanol feedstock is very high. And that is where they drive the whole cost of output cost of the ethanol. So that is where the state-specific area where Indian Agriculture University, Bangalore and the individual states are having their agricultural departments who will give you where the feedstock is available, and they are insisting that there only you go and set up the ethanol plants. Yeah. I'll repeat the question number 2. It is question to Honorable Pro Vice Chancellors of Jadavpur University. Competent core subject engineers count are slowly reducing. What can JU do differently to continue the legacy of producing excellent core engineers who will contribute to energy industry?
Yes, actually Jadavpur University is having the core engineering disciplines starting from mechanical, electrical, civil or chemical from its very inception. And all these disciplines or departments are running very strong. In fact, in order to focus on the energy sector, Jadavpur is probably one of the first university in the country to start a department called Department of Power Engineering. It actually started as Department of Power Plant Engineering, but later on converted to Department of Power Engineering. But if you consider the students of this age, they are largely driven by information available from the internet and from their peers. And that information is that the sector which is very attractive today is the IT sector and the finance sector. And they offer larger packages and more opportunities. So they are more inclined to those sectors rather than the core sectors. I tell you one thing, in the placement of the university, there was a rule that if a student gets a job in core sector, he will not be allowed to sit for another placement till a large section of the students get their placement. And during our time, or later on as well, we are very old. I mean, even say 10, 15 years back, this core sector was defined by the true core sector that is there in the question. But now, this core sector in the definition of the placement is driven by the package, not by really the core sector. So a student who gets a high package, he is not allowed to sit till others get their employment. So this is the situation. Now, the university, the departments are working fine. The departments want to have more of their core subjects in their curriculum, but the requirements of the student is probably, in fact, I remember about a year back, I had a chat with DC when he said to me that even for the IT sectors, what he thinks that knowledge in the core discipline for the students is what is essential. But it is very difficult to get it to the students because they are driven by information that they get from the internet and that they get from their senior batches and from the students. So therefore what we are finding is that the interest of the students for their core subjects get diminished. You hardly find students attending classes or very, very low attendance in the core subjects, while they want to have more subjects related to IT and things like that in their curriculum. So this is really a very challenging situation, and I think alumni can play a significant role to take this information to the present students, to take the information that how important the core sector is. And we, from the university, would like to have the intervention from the alumni, from the very senior alumni, or the in this respect. And I think that may change the mindset of the present generation students. So if this answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't know whether it is appropriate to comment on these things, but from my experience of being in the various recruitment panel, I get as an individual a feeling that whether it is the time has come that when our education system should move from MCQ type to olden analytical type, where people need to think before he answers. Because in olden days, we used to get questions where sometimes the whole class would go blank. So probably it was a different churning that was happening. So that is also one area probably, to my mind, I was actually trying to look into, because giving an answer to a question and knowing genesis of that answer is totally different subject. That is my mindset. Thank you.
So one point from the industry for the university is like today we are facing, when it comes to supply-demand gap, huge scarcity in the core sector, particularly civil engineering, chemical engineering, even sometimes mechanical engineering. Probably if you want software engineer, you can hire a lot. I mean, yes, we know, but then particularly civil, most of the colleges have stopped the civil engineering as a course because people are not probably opting for that course. Jadavpur University still continues, this is great, but when we come to the actual demand in the core sector, we need all these engineers equally. Rather, we need more civil engineers, more mechanical engineers, and in market, we have a huge demand-supply gap. And as a probably, maybe question will come back to the industry, you pay them more and you will get more engineers. So it is a chicken or egg story, you start paying more and people will start opting them. I don't know what is the answer.
Thank you. My sincere thanks to N.C.E, Bengal and Jadavpur University Alumni Association for organizing this program. My sincere gratitude to the eminent personalities sitting here and the august minds who are allowed us to speak and listen. And my sincere thanks to the eminent panelists to be part of this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists, for such a lovely and engaging session. It was wonderful to listen to a veteran industrialist, industry veteran, and 3 of our alumni. Thank you all. Well, with that, we come to the end of Forum 1.